Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Learn Japanese. And you are here because you forgot your Japanese. I need to get back on the horse. So let's go ahead and get in there. I really appreciate you coming to the video. I really appreciate that. So tonight, some of ways, we're going to be going over verbs. Okay, it's the biggest and the most difficult part of Japanese, yet the most essential part of Japanese because verbs are very, very important. All right, let's go over this. So we're going to be looking at verbs today, and we're going to be going over take him and grammatically going over his advice grammatically. So, number one, take him says, a grammatically complete sentence requires a verb only, including the state of being. I wonder what that means. I wonder what Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks about that. A verb can basically, if you think about it in English too, a verb can almost describe an entire situation without actually saying anything. So in Japanese, it's such the same thing. But anyway, let's get in there. So, for example, if you want to say, are you going to eat that? Yeah, I am. Let's try that again. Are you going to eat that? Yeah, I am. Taberu? Taberu! That's basically it. You can just say an entire sentence like that. Say that. Are you going to eat that? Taberu? Yeah, I am. Taberu. The sentence just makes sense because Japanese people understand knowing how to read the context, as they are a high context culture. They say less words, and with reading the air and where the language is structured, they're able to understand the context of the situation, which is why you don't need to say complete grammatically correct sentences all the time, as Japanese people can make the inference most of the time. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting culture dynamic that connects to the language directly. All right, and we're going to move on to the next one. So there are two types of verbs. There's a strong verb and a weak verb. That's what I learned in high school. I mean, in university when I took the language because I'm a goddamn weeb. But that makes no sense. What does that even mean? What verb is stronger than a weak verb? They're just words. So we're going to be using a better explanation. And that is the Ru and the U-verbs. And by looking at the kanji, helps out a wee bit. It helps out a wee bit, knowing it. It helps out a wee bit to look at the kanji. So if you actually get the Ru-verb here, and you get the U-verb, and they kind of sound the same, it's better if you actually look at the kanji, and you get to see how it's actually broken up. Because we actually look in the last lesson, and the last lesson before, you actually broke up the kanji, and you can see the kanji doesn't change, but actually the hiragana that's attached to it changes, and that's how you can determine if it was, if it was an adjective or not. It's the same thing when it comes to verbs. Not as much as as an adjective, but it is better to understand the kanji a little bit. Anyway, so we got the Ru verbs that end in Ru. That's right. And we got the U verbs that end in the U sound. Now, don't get that confused with the Ru. There are many, many sounds that I, U, E, O, kaki, kuke, go, sashi, shushe, so, mami, mu, me, mo. All that mu series, that U series, can all be an U verb, including Ru. That's confusing. That's rather confusing. That's rather confusing for me. Therefore, if a verb does not end in Ru, it is an U-verb. Okay, let me repeat that for you one more time. Therefore, if a verb does not end in Ru, it is an U-verb. Okay, do you understand? It is an U-verb. Okay, just making that clear. Look, if a vowel before the Ru is an A, an U, an O, it will be an U-verb. So, for example, we have an aru, we have an udu, and an oru. Okay? You understand? Okay, great. So the example of a Ru verb would be miru. It would be taberu, neru, iru, and oshieru. If you don't know what these mean, you're clearly in the wrong class, and I would recommend you go down to the lower level. But I'm a nice sensei, so I'm going to tell you what these words mean. Miru is to see, taberu is to eat, neru is to sleep, iru is to exist as an animate object, and oshieru is to teach. Okay, so we're going to move on to the U verbs. So an example of a new verb is hanasu. We got kiku. We got oyogu. We got motsu, and we got aru. Okay, so these actually don't end in ru. So if you look here, we actually have do. Here we have a su ku gu tsu uru tsu gu su kuru turu, right? So there is quite a distinction, and it doesn't end, except for the exception of aru. That's here. It's a little bit different, all right? So let's look at some example sentences, all right? I'm tagging back in here. Dundee's tagging back in. So we got Haru. We have Haru-san, he's here. So let's read in a Japanese accent. Kenta, get in here. Haru wa taberu. As for Haru, ate. That's what it literally means for a Japanese person. Ore ga kuru. I am the one that comes. I am the one who knocks. 俺がノックするぞ。俺はトントンするぞ。コンコン？トントン？ One of them. Asuka, how do you say knock knock in Japanese? No, 俺がノックノックするぞ。I am the one who knocks. Anyway, and then we got お金がある. As for money, it exists. Okay, so we see the verbs here. We got, can you please determine on your own which kind of verbs these are? So if you actually look here, I'm Boris Johnson now. You look here. Yamaza here now. We got the taberu. So that's got to be yomanda mahiri. There's a taberu right here. We got the ore ga kuru. And we got the okane ga aru. All right. So this is a Ru-verb. This is a Ru-verb. And this is a special U-verb. Oh. So remember those weird U-verbs that sound like Ru-verbs? Here are actually some examples of that. You remember the ones that you said the exception? Those were the exception, but these are actually the exception. So I'm going to show you a few of them. There's actually more, but I'm not going to put the entire slide on there. We're going to put in the entire tale of Genji on the slide. So we're going to go here. So we got iru, which means to need. We got kairu, which means to go home. And we got shiru, which means to know. Yes, and that is the same one that says shiruka. Here we go, an excerpt. So I'm going to sidetrack a little bit here. So just to help you with the distinction and to not make the mistake and actually to look at the kanji, you'll be able to understand how these verbs are actually distinctly made. So let's take a look here. So we have kaeru, kairu. Okay, so you have kairu, to go home. Yes, the same thing that says go home, back to your country. Yeah, anyway. So you got kairu, to go home. We also got kaeru, to change. But just by listening to these two words together, they don't actually sound that different. But when you look at the kanji, you can see that one of them is clearly a Ru-verb, and one of them is clearly a U-verb. So, which one is it? So, we know by the conjugations, like this. Kaite kudasai. Kaite kudasai. So that was a hint right there. That's a hint right there. Reverse engineer it. There's a hint right there. Kaite kudasai. That is how you conjugate an U-verb. Then we got kaeru. Kaeru. Sounds the same as taberu, doesn't it? Like the same kind of format. So it says kaite kudasai. Kaite kudasai. Change it. Because kaite kudasai. Please go home. Kaite kudasai. Please change it. Right? It's the same thing. So you'll see another example. I'll show another example of that right here. So let's conjugate some verbs to the negative now. And first, let's go over some special exceptions, which is aru and iru. So remember that you must use aru for inanimate objects. I know you can't really see it here, but inanimate objects. Not the difference between things that are alive and the things that aren't alive, because I'm going to tell you a quick distinction of why that simply isn't true for the Japanese language. So, iru is for animate objects, things that move. Things that move. And I know that the world of science has taught us that, plants are living things and they actually are alive. So if you were to try and distinct these two types of verbs of aru and iru together and consider that aru is for things that are not alive, like things, or iru is for things that are alive, you would be simply mistaken when it comes to the way the Japanese people think about things. And it may be just because how old the language is and we didn't know about the things that were alive back in the past. This could be just an anecdote that you make up on your own to help you remember. But here's an example. Trees don't move. Okay? Trees don't move. So you say ki ga aru. Not ki ga iru, ki ga aru. There is a tree over there. It is a thing. It does not live. It does not move. It does not move like a cat. It does not move like my smooth moves. It doesn't move like Jagger. Okay? It doesn't move. So therefore, I am better than you. And it's not alive. Okay? So the distinction between inanimate and animate objects become more important for more complex things as you move forward with the language. Okay, next one. So when you use these negatively, how are you going to change that? These are special exceptions. So you got aru turns straight to nai, and iru turns straight into inai. Okay? So, hito ga nai is wrong. Hito ga inai. Okane ga nai. Do you understand? You understand? All right. Let's make and share. All right, so let's do this last thing here. It's conjugation for negative verbs, which are going to help you understand the different types of verbs and how they are actually conjugated. And you actually see the distinction between a Ru and a U-verb a little easier by reverse engineering it. So, here we go. We've got the Ru-verb. So you drop the Ru and add the nai. So, we got miru turns into minai. So, you drop the Ru there. Goodbye, Ru. Goodbye, Ru. See you later. Cheers, mate. And you see, minai. Minai. Terebi o minai. Nani mo minai. Okay? For the U-verb, you drop the U and you add a wa, or rather the sound of something. So if you have a verb that ends in U, like literally in U, you change it to a wa. If you have a verb that is an U-verb that is not a Ru, but like another sound like new or something else like that, I can't think of the spot. You add the same. You take from that Ru series, right? And you change and you go up to the Ra series, the a u e o da di du de do ma me mu me mo na ni nu ne no sa shu se so pa pi pu pe po, like all that, right? And you move up to that section and you use those ones. So we can see this example here. Kau turns to kawanai. Wakaru. Wakawanai. Wakawanai. That doesn't sound right because it doesn't have an U. It doesn't have an U there. So we're not going to go wa. That's only exclusively for the U, the actual U verb. The wakaru is actually the wakawanai. It doesn't make sense. That sounds like wakanda forever. It sounds like that. So that's wrong. But we want to go wakaru into wakaranai. 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 Okay? Okay. Honestly, it takes practice to really learn these, and a lot of trial and error to really understand these. A lot of trial and error and actually being exposed to them and watching, looking at, and it actually makes a lot more sense to find the distinction between these two verbs by actually seeing their conjugations and how they are used. Because more often than not, you're going to see these in their te forms. So you'll see by the way they're conjugated, you'll understand. When they have the small tsu, I know I'm jumping a little bit forward, but when you have the small tsu and you go kaite kudasai or kaite kudasai, you can immediately know that with the small tsu and the t, that means the small tsu and the te is attached. It was an u verb in its original form, but it didn't have that, and it was just like kaite kudasai, tabete kudasai, nete kudasai. You knew it was a Ru-verb. Honestly, the best way for you to learn this is to just make mistakes, learn it over time, and just get exposed to it. You're not going to learn in one sitting, whatever. Okay, anyway, I'm going to do my best to explain it to you though. So let's do some example sentences. So we got, Haru-san wa tabenai yo. Haru isn't going to eat. Okay, so look here. That's how you convert the Ru-verb. Okay. Ore wa ikanai zo. I'm not going. Ikanai. Iku. Ikanai. Okay. Not iwanai. Because that turns into another thing. That's don't say. Okay, so ikanai. Okay, you got to keep some form of the verb still alive. Then we got ore wa ikenai zo. Actually, that should be ore ga ikenai. That should be that. I can't go. Okay, I can't go. But here is one last thing I'm going to show you that'll help you understand the distinction one more time. So look at this. Iku. Okay, they both mean go. in more ways than one. But this is an U-verb, okay? And in its current state as iku, okay? Therefore, you make it ikanai, right? Just the standard rule. But look at this. If you change iku to the potential form, which is still means the same thing basically, but just as a potential form, as a can you go, can you come, rather than will you go or will you not come, right? So we just changed just the form of it. But now look at it. Look at the way it looks now. So iku and ikeru. It actually turned itself into a Ru-verb. So look, this is a Ru-verb in its current state now, even though it means the same thing, basically. So therefore, you add the nai, and you use the rules of the ikeru, of the Ru-verb. So you're seeing a lot of these patterns in Japanese. So instead of just trying to memorize one thing at a time, you look for these patterns. Look for the pattern. But anyway, guys, we got one more thing left, and it's past tense. And unfortunately, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that in the future. So we're going to be doing that next week. So make sure you study up hard. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Nihongo Jozu desu ne. And see you later. Goodbye.